guys, welcome to my first official craft video of 2021. I'm gonna try to make this short and sweet because, of course, as I decided that I'm gonna film today, it decided to rain. And of course, with me having the tin roof over my studio, you can hear it. So not ideal filming conditions, but you know what? It's okay. It will be okay. So I'm going to try to make this part very short. That way it's not too distracting hearing the rain. I'm so sorry. There's just nothing I can do about that. Today's project, or, well, it's a lot longer than today. But the project I'm going to show you today is a temperature blanket. Majority of people know what that is, but for those of you who don't, because I just found out about these just here recently, and this is why I'm now making one. It is a blanket that logs the temperature of the entire year, day by day. So it may be one row per day, one square per day, one part of a pattern per day, however it may be, but it has colors that coordinate with the temperature that your area experiences. Now there's so many different variants. I could go on all day about the different ways that you can switch this up and different variants you could do. There's so many different stitches, different materials, just there's a lot. I'm doing just very basic. I'm going with a rainbow pattern or a rainbow scale. I did try to mute the colors just a touch. I didn't want like full-blown neons, so these are a little more of a muted palette, but I'm still going rainbow scale. I honestly don't know why that was what I finally decided on, because I was back and forth about everything but rainbow, and in the end I ended up with rainbow, so just not going to question the process. Alright, so the temperature blanket scale for me is going to be the white is going to have, and I'm going to include the temperatures up here. So our coldest is going to be white. This is going to move into Periwinkle. Then we are going to move into sea blue, very muted, pretty blue. These are very inexpensive yarns. I'm not going with an expensive yarn for this project because, for one, this project's going to be quite large, and so that gets really pricey. But also, I don't mind these yarns. Some people don't care for the texture that they leave, but honestly, I don't mind. I've got several blankets I've made out of these like cheaper medium weight yarns. I don't mind them at all, especially after they get washed. They're plenty soft enough. Okay, the next color on my scale is going to be mid green, and then a pale yellow. This one is like a pale orange. I do not have a label on this one anymore. I have so much yarn in my stash. Some of it has labels, some of it does not. So this is kind of a paler orange. And then I have a coral here. And then I have cranberry. And then my final color in the scale is going to be Garnet, so a deep wine red. Alright, so I did not know what color variation I want to go with. I honestly was leaning towards doing like a blue scale, or doing like maybe even blues and grays, and then when I went to the store to go get some yarn, it turned into rainbow. Now I love color, obviously, okay, I love color, but just the idea of having a rainbow or like a neon rainbow blanket around the house just kind of bugged me, because I was like, I want to leave my work out for people to be able to see and appreciate, and you know, kind of thought it would be a cool little conversation starter. And I just didn't feel like having a rainbow blanket laying around would really do the job. But then the more I got to thinking about, especially with this one being my first one, it's a little easier to visualize the temperature change whenever it's associated with colors that we associate with those temperatures. So all of my wintry cold colors are blues, purples, and the white. So, I mean, we easily associate this with winter and cold. So that felt good for me. That felt like the right choice. And then for like my more spring tones, I've got the yellow and the green going into like even the orange. And then for my warmer tones, I've got the coral and the cranberry and the garnet. And so these are, you know, reds and warm tones. And so these look a little more summer. These look hot. This, you know, easily conveys the idea of hot. So I think that's why I finally just decided for my first one, I am going to do it rainbow. I just muted the colors just a little bit so that they weren't quite so neon bright. Yeah, so I do not know which stitch I'm going to go with yet. I need to do a little bit of gauges to kind of get an idea of how large it's going to be with the different stitches. I know I have some stitches in mind that I'd like to do, but they may be, or it may make the blanket too large if I do certain stitches and have to do 365 rows, because 365 rows of pretty much any stitch is going to be big. So it may end up being just a single. And I mean, I really don't want to do something as simple as a single, but I'm going to have to do some math and figure out which stitch is going to suit this project the best. Alright, so I wanted to film this first because obviously today is the first day of the new year, and so I wanted to film this before I actually started working on the project, because I do want to film the project going also, and I wanted to show you guys the different yarns I had and everything before. And I also wanted to kind of show you the confidence that I'm going into this with, because I've watched a lot of videos and a lot of the women lose interest in the piece pretty quick, or lose interest in the stitch, or regret the color choice. And really, once you get started, you really can't switch up your color choice. Well, you can do anything you want to, but to keep the idea going and keeping everything just fluid throughout, you need to stick with your same color choices. So I don't know. I'm going into this with a lot of confidence. I'm excited to be able to do this, and I think it's really cool getting to just do like a row a day. And even if you don't have time to do a row a day, you could even set aside like one day a week to do your 7 rows for that week. And all you have to do, and the scale that I have chose to use, which I've already showed you the temperatures, but the scale I've decided to use. So the color scale that I decided to go for with this particular project is during the cold winter months, I'm going to do the lows for the day. During the summer months, I'm going to do the highs for the day. And during the spring and the fall, I'm going to do the averages. That way I kind of get a wide range of temperatures and a wide range of colors incorporated into the blanket. So I think that's going to be my whole plan of action for this. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, get everything organized, and let you guys kind of see me get this started, and we will go from there. I guess I'll just make this into a whole series, and every so often we'll just check back in and see how it's going, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so we are going to start our temperature blanket. Today is January 2nd, and I'm deciding I'm going to do this one day behind each time, and that way I can get the actual temperature for each day instead of the estimated temperature. So now I have the actual temperature that we hit in our area for January 1st, and that was 41 degrees as a low. I've decided with this blanket I want to do the lows during the winter, the averages during the spring and the fall, and the highs during the summer. And I'm only doing that just to give my blanket a little larger range in the different colors, just to make sure that I get plenty of all the colors in our range. Alright, so yesterday our low here was 41 degrees, and so on my chart that fell under the blue category. This is the I Love This yarn from Hobby Lobby. It is pretty soft, very affordable. As you can see, this was $4.99. And a lot of times at Hobby Lobby you can use coupons and get a percentage off. So this color is called Sea Blue, and this is going to be what we're going to start with. Now, as for the size, I was trying to do a lot of research before I started, just because I know I'm going to have a lot of time invested and a lot of materials invested into this project, and I didn't want to start and then not be happy with it or not quite know what I was getting myself into. So I pulled up this very handy chart, which I will link in the description below, that shows the different size blankets. It's really hard for you guys to see on camera, but this chart lists the different size blankets, and then the option to have the blanket the exact size, or the option to have the blanket with a little bit of a drape, especially if you're doing like a bed size. So it'll show you how many stitches for you to start your original chain with, depending on which size needle you use. This is a very, very useful chart. So after a lot of thought, I had originally wanted to do a just regular throw, just something you could cozy up on the couch with, but if I'm going to be spending the entire year creating this project, I want it to be large. So we're going to do a king size with drape. That is the size of the bed I have, so it would be nice to be able to display. For this part, I've decided just to do a voiceover. The rain got really, really loud at this point. So I'm just going to do a simple chain. I'm tying on a knot onto my needle. I know that a lot of people do a slip knot, but I'm just tying a knot on here. This is not a tutorial. This is just the way I was doing it. But I'm going to have to chain 340 stitches to get my desired king size length. And so yeah, this is going to take a little while, so I'm going to go ahead and get ready to put this into fast forward so you guys don't have to sit here in real time and watch me chain 340 chains. So that's all I'm going to be doing, is just chaining away and trying to make sure I don't lose count, because I really don't want to have to count all of this over again. I may use some stitch markers. So yeah, we'll go ahead and fast forward this. Alright, so today is actually the 5th of January. So far I have 3 of my rows for the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and I'm going to do my row for the 4th. I'm staying 1 day behind so that I can confirm that the temperatures I'm using are not an estimate, they are the actual temperature. So yesterday we had a cold day, so we are finally going to drop down 1 color and scale on our next row. So this will be the first color change of our temperature blanket. So I was going to just let you kind of watch me and kind of walk you through it, and we'll go from there. Alright, so let me zoom you guys in just a touch so that you can kind of see a little bit better what's going on. Alright, so as you can see, on this I have 3 rows so far. It's a little easier to see it on this side. Getting myself all tangled up. Okay, so we've got our chain at the very bottom. Then we've got our first row, our second row, which looks different because as you're going, you're going to be doing chains back and forth. So every other row is going to look one way, and then the row in between will look a different way. So this is our chain, row 1 here, row 2, and row 3. So we're going to be starting off row 4 and switching color from the blue to the purple. So I'm going to cut, I don't want a huge tail, but I do want enough to kind of weave in. We're going to cut it right about there. Alright, so then the purple color is going to be Periwinkle, and this is a Hobby Lobby brand yarn. We're going to go ahead and just switch this over. So I've got my Periwinkle, my purple yarn. Alright, and I saw a couple of different ways that people were switching their colors, and honestly there's not any one particular way that works better than another, but the way that I'm going to do it is this is my final loop, and I need to chain one before turning, so I'm going to make the chain one be the Periwinkle color. So we're going to turn it back over, tighten this loop down onto my hook, and then where I would normally grab this yarn and chain one, I'm going to instead pinch a little tail onto the Periwinkle, and I'm going to yarn over and chain one with the Periwinkle. And then I'm going to flip my work over, and I'm going to start crocheting, and I'm going to incorporate this tail into the work. That way at each color change I've only got one tail to weave in versus two tails. So I think this is going to be the best option. So I'm just going to kind of lay this tail across the top part of my row here, and we're just going to use the stitch itself to hold it into place. Alright, so we're going to go into our first stitch, and like this, and then our second stitch, and just making sure that each time I'm kind of sandwiching the tail in between the old row and the new row, which would be the blue row and the purple, just like that. And I'm gonna go all the way down until the tail runs out. This is a little more difficult to keep this at gauge, just because it's a little looser when you don't have that tension from the previous stitches, but once you get a couple of stitches in, it usually is just fine, and you can't even notice that you've switched colors. I'm really glad that I did decide to go with the rainbow pattern, but not like neon rainbows or, you know, super bright color rainbows. These are much more muted colors, and I'm really glad that I went with that because I think I'm going to enjoy this color pattern a lot more. Right, and one of the things that I've gotten comments about is the way that I hold my needle. I don't even know if I was on frame for the last part, but I do hold my needle in what they've got two different styles basically, or two different ways that most people will hold their needle. The most popular is like pencil style, so you're holding your needle like a pencil or pen and using it, and this is a great way. This is how most people learn. However, I did not learn this method, and I have tried doing this method, and I can't quite get it, because it's just not what I'm used to. I'm sure that I could eventually get it, but I keep reverting back to the way that I was taught, and that is knife style. So I actually hold the needle like this instead of like this. Alright, so as you just saw, that was the first few rows of my 2021 temperature blanket. So here is the results so far. We've got, this is 5 rows. Today is the 7th, so I'm going to be crocheting row 6 today, which will actually be another purple row. And yeah, so I will just every once in a while update you guys on how that is going, and just kind of keep you in the loop, because I think it's a really cool project. I'm super excited. I'm a week into it now, and I'm still loving it. So I think that's going to be it for today. Go ahead and click that subscribe button and comment down below. And definitely keep up with everything that's going on, because I plan on posting a lot this year. Like I said, that is one of my 2021 New Year's resolutions, if that's what you want to call it, is just to kind of do better with social media, because I really did not do so well with 2020 as far as like keeping up with a schedule. So I will see you guys in the next one.